I've always been passionate about doing meaningful work. That's why I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. As a child, my dad bought his first car and it brought so much ease to our family. And I told him I want to be an engineer. And he says, why? Because I want to be able to make something that's so meaningful as a car.
On this episode of Stories from Nigeria, we explore the story of a child educator, Caleb Akubo, who believes children can attain self-mastery and make sense of life from a very young age. Join us as we go on this journey.
My name is Caleb Akubo. I'm an educator. I'm a child development consultant. I grew up in Zaria. I was born and lived there. My parents were both academic staff in Abanibo University. I studied mechanical engineering at Abanibo University. I served in Ekiti State. So basically,
in 2001, Caleb was part of a music group, the Radicals, and that had a huge impact on his life.
I was privileged to be part of a music group, and that music group significantly, I think, had the most impact on my life. It gave me opportunity to do certain things. I think it began in 2001. I was in primary school, and it was a music group. We got to sing, got to get invitations. That means we have to coordinate ourselves. We have to begin to take on responsibilities and pick up skills that are still very, very useful to me. So when I look back at my childhood and look back at some of the things that I find I do quite easily. I do it so much ease now because I started quite including speaking, introduce the song, write a song, speak to an audience and things like that. And the Radicals had a very, very significant impact in my development. Yes.
With everything going seemingly well, Caleb began to experience challenges in the most unexpected area for him, his academics.
Growing up, I'd always known I was smart. I aced my academics. I came on top of my class. In fact, when I got to SS2, I wrote WAEC. It was the first time I was going to write WAEC. I aced the results except chemistry. And then I got an admission because I wrote WAEC and JAM that year. I got an admission to study metallurgical engineering at the time. I didn't want to study metallurgical engineering. I applied mechanical engineering. And I got that admission and I turned it down because first, I didn't like the course. Second, I didn't have chemistry. So I said I was going to sit the next year, which was the year I was ideally supposed to sit for the exams. And I still didn't make chemistry that year. However, I did well in JAM. I scored quite high in JAM chemistry. And I got admitted to, I did the post-UME and then we got admitted, but my admission process, documentation process, I was going to have some challenges because of chemistry. So somehow I got a grace period to tender chemistry so that my files would be. It was just an arrangement for me to write WAEC while I was still in school so I don't lose the admission and stay at home. And I was very grateful for that opportunity. So I gave it my all, I gave my best. So that's not the problem about WAEC again. In 100 level, I wrote WAEC, I think twice, the internal and external. Still, I didn't make a C in chemistry. I'm just looking to just tender a minimum of C, a credit in chemistry. And I had written WAEC and the SSC exams 9 times. Wow. I was 9 times before I could get it. So between the first WAEC and the very last WAEC that I wrote, I finally got chemistry. It was a very dark time for me because between that time I was in 200 level. I had aced the chemistry of the A levels chemistry. I got to 200 level and I was practically tutoring my friends. I knew I understood the stuff and I was failing WAEC. Every other chemistry exam I sit for, I pass. But WAEC somehow just wouldn't give me chemistry. And so I felt betrayed. I felt disappointed. I felt failed. I felt the system failed me. I felt if this is a system, the only way I could get into the university was to present a WAEC result, and I couldn't explain what was going on. It was a very, very dark time, and I felt, I think I had some levels, just I don't know how much, but I had some level of depression as a result of that. Some levels of the effects of depression as a result of that. So that was a very dark moment, and I was able to make it through.
The challenges Caleb faced with his academics made him realize the flaws in the academic system, and he had to come to terms with this sad realization.
Handling that thing for me, handling the WAEC problem, was a turning point. So it drew me to a point where I began to think very seriously about things that I believed. Right? Like I said, if WAEC is supposed to be entrusted with my future, my destiny, then I'm helpless at this point, because I knew all these things, teaching chemistry, and I still cannot have the paper to reflect that. So I something about the flaws of just having a credential got to me, and I began to see the need to emphasize beyond credentials. And coupled with the fact that in 300 level in university, we began studying engineering, like where first 100 and 200 level some kind of introduction, and at 300 level you begin the coursework, and then I realized that some of the things we're being taught were obsolete. We're taught programs that are not appreciated, not used again, and coupled with my experience with my WAEC example, I just realized that there's something really wrong with the kind of education, the quality of education I'm missing. And then I began to sort and emphasize other parts of my life that was working, especially during the WAEC time. I had a music career. I was preparing, developing myself. I wrote a book that never really got published. I just used it to train people in my circles. So I just decided, okay, you know what, this system, you know how the popular saying and popular phrase that goes, school has scam. Yeah, it made sense to me so much at that time. I was like, okay, you know what, school has scam. And then I felt a connection. I thought, these guys, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, they're my guys. I felt like my uncles and their nephew. Somehow I felt I'm going to drop out of school. But now my parents, of course, the whole story didn't evolve quite like that. It was better for me to just complete it and say, okay, I'm done, and then I can go ahead and do it, which is what I did. Do what I want to do in my life, which is what I did. So, for me, dealing with that dark time, I picked up something in my life that I was not confident about, which was music. I was talented, and I decided to emphasize my talent. And it got me through that dark period. That was beautiful.
After going through a lot of challenges with academics and his education, he had a desire to help children avoid these struggles he went through. He realized he was both passionate and called to be a child educator.
I've always been passionate about creating, doing meaningful work. The inspiration, that's why I wanted to be a mechanical engineer. As a child, my dad bought his first car, and it brought so much ease to our family. And I told him I want to be an engineer, and he says, why? Because I want to be able to make something that's so meaningful as a car. So it brought ease to my family, and I said, yes, this is what I want to do. So for me, I like meaning. I like to see meaning in what I do. So having lost that meaning in the midst of academics, of school, it brought me to a point where I was wary about the whole hype. I felt that school is overrated. Losing meaning in the midst of all this was what pushed me to seek out meaning. Now, what I do with children actually didn't just start like that. Like I told you, I was doing music. I was building a career around music. And I had a retreat in 2015. And in that retreat, the short story of the whole series of events that happened that time that retreat, I came to a realization that what the essence of my life is around music, around children. The essence of my life is around children more than around music. So the Lord told me, you're not a music minister that loves children. You're a children minister that loves music. So that brought a lot of peace and clarity. All right. So that's how my career with children actually began. So my quest or my journey in child education officially kick-started when I had that realization from my retreat that I have value to deliver in the child education space.
Caleb saw a need to explore ways to train himself to better equip the next generation.
Having known that I needed to begin to structure my engagement with my handouts with children, it led me to do a lot of study. That was at the point I started going online. I completed about 6 courses in a very short time online: child development, child psychology, classroom psychology, and all that. I didn't even bother to find out whether I was going to be academics, or I just wanted to solve the problems that I immediately perceived. I remember I made out my mom's garage. Yes, she parked outside, so we would set up chairs, and I got a board, and I got my friends to come around, just to make it comfortable and make it seem like a safe place where the children can just be comfortable and learn. So that's what we did: set it up, put chairs, put lights, and then my board. And so we had different sorts of engagement. Mostly was academic at the time. So that's how I began to pay attention and began to work in this child development space.
The Root Club is the brainchild of Caleb Akubo, born out of his desire to provide a superior educational experience and put a structure to his engagements with children. He shares more about the Root Club.
The Root Club is an expression of my desire to upgrade the educational experience children have received. I remember one time I had a talk with a little girl, 13-year-old, doing very well, above average in school. I asked her, what do you want to study in university? Well, okay, if I want to be a nurse. So she tells me she cannot study what she wants to study because she feels she's not up to it. So this is how it went. Her name is Love. I said, Love, what do you want to be in future? She said she wants to be a nurse. I said, that's nice. Why do you want to be a nurse? And then she tells me all the wonderful reasons why she wants to be a nurse. Amongst that is, the prestige and, I was like, okay, have you thought about being a doctor? It's pretty much the same job description. To a 13-year-old at least, I could explain like that. It's the same job description. Why would you not consider doctor? Because it's more prestigious and I figure it's going to be more pay. And then she laughed, like some kind of laugh. And I was curious to find out what was going on in her head. I want an answer. Why don't you consider being a doctor? And she tells me, Uncle Caleb, doctor is hard. And that moment, I understood what was going on in her heart. Now, this lady is going to shortchange herself based on information that is first false and then is not even her reality. She has not sat in her first biology, chemistry, or physics class. She's just in GS2. And she already has a mindset that I will not be able to be a doctor because it's going to be hard. So it's not the information based on a test of her abilities, per se. I shared this story with a senior colleague, and she was so emotionally connected to this story. I could see her eyes water up. She told me of her personal experience, how that in growing up she was very smart, but the only representation of a successful career was being a class teacher. So she wrote the qualifying exams, qualified to go to Queen's College, and all she had in her mind throughout her stay was, I want to graduate and be a teacher. Now, there's nothing, I'm a teacher. There's nothing wrong with being a teacher, but there's everything wrong with seeing it as the reason, that's the limit of your potential. And she said that when she realized that she could actually be anything, she was smart enough, she had the blue. It was kind of late for her to now switch into studying the course she wanted to, because she really wanted to be a doctor like Love. So I realized at that point that so many children, so many people like Love would be shortchanging themselves based on false information or based on information that is not available to them. So I said, Love, call your friends, come to the garage. Come to the garage, and we're going to meet on Saturday beginning 10 a.m. And I told some other friends, some other children, I think it was someday during the weekend. I said, okay, it's Saturday, 10 a.m. we meet. It's going to be a special program. And so I expected a few children to come. At most, I was expecting 22. And Saturday came, I had over 50 children come. So these children told their friends, and they came, and I had this screen set up. So we're going to interact with children from across the world. Children doing amazing things. The idea was to just break down the faulty mold or the box that they've been put in, and to expand the horizon for them to see that, okay, this is possible. I can be a lot more. I can do a lot more. So we watched Robbie Novak. We discussed him because he has some peculiar challenges that the children were not aware of. We discussed a lot of children, child prodigies, doing amazing things across the world. We showed videos, especially of Robbie Novak in the White House, in the UN, and some of those wonderful videos he shared. I hope someday I'm going to meet him and just tell him how much we have benefited from what he shared. But the idea is this: the children left that meeting that day seeing what children their age mates across the world are doing. One of the children I remember walk up and say, I like how he speaks. I said, yes, I do too. I like the way he speaks. I think you can speak that way too. To see that something in the child resonates with something in the other child on the other side of the screen. That's okay. We might be different, but then, all right. So it was a very huge success. This time we're going to do Dare to Dream Part 2. So Dare to Dream Part 2, the same concepts that I wanted to show in Dare to Dream Part 1, but this time was bigger. I had Captain Basi Henshao from the Nigerian Aviation School. He's a pilot. I had him come around. I had the children interact with Chopsticks, Africa's #1 female drummer, and we had set up to speak with Kubams Asoko. We had a Professor Emi who was physically present in that event. All this was to help stimulate the children's mind, to break down the walls that have been put up by negative thought or whatever thing that is just unhealthy mindsets, that unhealthy limiting mindset. I remember a very high point, two very high points where the children were wowed. It was priceless to see the looks on their faces. Was when Captain Basi Henshao came in. Now he came in from Abuja, and we troubled him so much. We had to request and insist that he comes in his uniform. So he comes into the venue with his uniform, and the crowd just goes wild. The children like, that's it. And then he tells them, okay, I fly planes, and just introduce to them what it takes to be a pilot, and the children will just watch. Just study just geography, maths, you have to maths. Wow, so what I'm teaching is what I'm being taught in school applies and eventually adds up to something really meaningful. So I could see the children especially think, and that event was well attended. I had about 250 children come for that event. So that kind of burst and gave tone to the Root Club and what we do. So the Root Club is an education support organization that helps children attain self-mastery and make sense of life. So we teach them things that may not necessarily be set up or be taught in the classroom. Personal goal settings, personality development concept, leadership, and personal leadership. All those concepts that you don't need the chalk and paper and board to teach, but then through practical activities, what we would have coaches generally do basically. So we leverage technology and extracurricular activities to help deliver this leadership and personal mastery concepts to the children. And that's how the Root Club started. Okay, what the Root Club is currently doing is partnering with organizations to deliver extracurricular activities. So we basically design extracurricular activities around meaningful concepts and then themes. Take a theme and then design activities around it, and that helps children make the most of those time.
What started as an idea, the Root Club, a makeshift after-school education in a garage, has now grown into a nationwide campaign impacting lives of thousands of children across Nigeria.
Because of the COVID-19 lockdown, our activities were a little bit stifled, but we just rounded up the Beacon program. The Beacon program was a tour of schools, and we focused in the southwestern part of the country. The idea was to teach the children that nothing compares. So we talked about nothing compares in a series of seminars, and we took it to over 20 schools. The idea was to help the children know that nothing compares to a person who has been able to identify his personal strengths and begin to develop in it. We talked a lot about Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hour rule, and we introduced the children to the concept of personal development. We had a lot of support from the schools, giving us access to the children on a weekly basis. It began in November, and we concluded sometime in February. Because of the pandemic, we couldn't have a grand finale as we wanted. But then that was the idea for that project, to help children in their schools appreciate the value of personal development, and also help them find help. Help them, and also help them know how to ask for help and ask the relevant questions. Because one of the things we taught them is questions are the answers sometimes. So we taught them all that during the Beacon program stretch of events.
Caleb has started a new project, Passion Gets Busy, as a response to the problem of education and personal discovery in children.
The vision of Passion Gets Busy is to create a fun, future-relevant personality development, teaching and learning environment for children by catering to the whole child's development, character-wise, physically, academically, and in a way that is not like a formal school. So Passion Gets Busy is a practical, hands-on approach that we are going to have the children practically engage with the things that they are passionate about. So, say for example, a child likes to speak, and Passion Gets Busy, that environment that encourages and gives the child the advantage of engaging in that activity, in speaking, which is speaking in this example, would be promoted, right? So Passion Gets Busy is where we give children meaning now. Instead of asking a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? We ask the child, what do you want to do now? Because we believe that child is someone now. And putting off, self-actualization, putting off the fulfillment you can get from being and understanding and appreciating yourself, putting off to a future time is not very healthy. We believe that every human being, every child is something and someone now. And Passion Gets Busy will be that opportunity for them to, while learning anything, whatever activity they're doing, they're also learning about themselves and then learning on how they can be better human beings. Passion Gets Busy is an opportunity for us to connect these learnings to an emotion for the children, that will stick with the children for the rest of their lives. And we are on that project in Abuja, and we hope to establish it quite concretely.
Caleb has always been driven by a search for meaning, and this search has yielded a life of impact and contribution. But what exactly will Caleb be remembered for?
What I want to be remembered for is that I have helped a generation attain self-mastery at an early age.
Caleb's story is one of passion, resilience, and a desire to do meaningful work. We hope his story resonates with you. To find out more about Caleb and how to support the Passion Gets Busy project, log on to www.storiesfromnigeria.org.